With Devstream 96 concluded, it's time to go over the information that was discussed. So first off, the Plains of Eidolon will release on PC first, and consoles sometimes afterwards. As for the release date, Steve stated that they're hoping for it to release sometime in September this year. As for console release, you guys will have to wait a couple of weeks more, as it will have to go through the certification process. If you're wondering about the Umbra Sacrifice questline, they've stated that it will release sometime after the Plains of Eidolon. If you're a new player and you want to experience the Plains, you can, as it will be located on Earth, and probably will require a certain amount of missions to complete before you can reach the node. But for us veteran players, don't think this is just another new tileset or game mode for new players, as when it becomes nighttime through the new day and night cycle, the overall difficulty of the enemies will increase. But alongside the difficulty rise, there'll be new units that you'll encounter. What you're seeing on the screen are the models for the Grineer Ghoul units that may pop up from the ground throughout your travels on the Plains. Jeff stated that they're looking to push some of these units into the base game as well. As for how squads will work, the player hub Cetus will host 50 players per instance, and the actual Plains will be in squads of 4, just like the base game. Now if you wish to use your operator in the player hub, there will be specific areas that you'll have to go to, just so that you don't spoil the quest for new players. Now on the topic of Archwings, Scott was talking about maybe placing a cooldown on it, as they don't want Archwing to be the be-all and end-all of your decisions. We may receive a new bird companion sometime in the future if they do end up working on its mechanics. The Ostron weapon crafting system will have parts dedicated to visuals, the weapon type, and the overall stats of the weapon. Using the links, you could build for either critical, status, and maybe even both. And for those of you wondering, each Ostron hilt or link will have its own melee ribbon and weapon mastery linked to it. Finally, since we're on the topic of melee, there's a new polearm stance in development, and the fan weapon that showed up ages ago is still a work in progress, as there's new mechanics and whatnot holding it back. Now you may have realized that most of the Devstream was dedicated to showing the creative process of working on Plains of Eidolon, and how certain graphic systems had to be changed and the new enemies and mechanics that were added. But if you're interested in listening to Steve talking about the progression of the update over the past couple of months, I'll have a video up tomorrow with all of that. Finally, I'll leave you guys with something that I thought was pretty cool, and that was a fully sized Lephantis roaming the fields. Now Steve said they used Lephantis as a template for the Eidolon's movement model, so you probably won't see Big Boy Lephant in the final build. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
You can see a bit of the latency on the foot IK there, but this is a really important thing when you have great sizing monsters. Placing their feet on the train is actually an interesting challenge that he's demonstrating here. You can actually see the placeholder mesh of the Eidolon rigidly standing in the back. But you can see here the scope of the landscape when you compare it against such a giant monster.